wanted to read a book instead. Alice sat down with her, but soon started to get tired and bored.
Oh, Edith, can we go home?
Not yet. I want to finish this chapter first. We won't be long.
But I don't have anything to do.
You should have brought a book of your own with you.
I thought maybe I could read your book with you. But your book is a big boring adult book. It doesn't have any pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book without pictures or conversations?
Let me finish this chapter in peace and we'll go back. It must be close to tea time as it is.
It's far too hot for tea, Edith.
Well, then don't have any. If you're bored, why don't you make a daisy chain? There's a large patch of daisies over by that tree there.
Fine. Oh, it's a white rabbit. A white rabbit with pink eyes. How odd. That rabbit looks like it's wearing a waistcoat. It is wearing a waistcoat. I should tell Edith. I bet she's never seen a rabbit in a waistcoat before.
Oh dear, I shall be late.
Late? Whatever would a rabbit be late for?
After a moment, Alice ran after the rabbit, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down. So suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well.
Well, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think me at home. Down, down, down. Would this fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. Ow! At least the fall is over. Now where am I?
Oh, my ears and whiskers. How late it's getting. Late.
Now where has that wretched creature gone?
Alice found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all round the hall, but they were all locked. And when Alice had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever to get out again. Suddenly, she came upon a little three-legged table, all made of solid glass. There was nothing on it except a tiny golden key.
Ah, this might belong to one of these doors.
Either the locks were too large or the key was too small, but at any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second time round, she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before, and behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Alice opened the door and found that it led into a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you ever saw. Oh, how she longed to get out of that dark hall and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains. But she could not even get her head through the doorway.
Bother. And even if my head could go through, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could, if only I knew how to begin.
There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or, at any rate, a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes.
Well, now that's curious. This little bottle wasn't here before. What a lovely colour. Or what does the label say? Drink me. It's all very well to say drink me, but I won't be doing that in a hurry. I'll look first and see whether it's marked poison or not. I've read too many stories where children have come to harm because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them. A red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long. If you cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. And if you drink from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with you, sooner or later. No, this bottle isn't marked poison at all. I think it will be all right for me to taste it. That tasted delicious, like a cherry tart, or like custard, or pineapple. Actually, no, like roast turkey, and toffee, and hot buttered toast. Oh, what a curious feeling. I must be shutting up like a telescope.
Alice was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this, but after a while she found that nothing more happened and decided to go into the garden at once. Alas! When she got to the door, she found she had forgotten the little golden key, and when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She tried her best to climb up one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery.
Oh, bother. What's this? There's a little glass box under the table. Oh, what a lovely little cake. It has a message marked in currants on the top of it. Eat me. Oh, well, I shall. If it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. And if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way I'll get into the garden. And I don't care which happens.
Alice ate a little bit, and she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. This is what generally happens when one eats cake, but Alice had got so much into the way of expecting out-of-the-way things to happen that it seemed quite dull for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work and very soon finished off the cake.
Curiouser and curiouser. Now I'm opening up like the largest telescope that ever was. Goodbye, feet!
Just then, her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now more than 9 feet high, and she at once took up the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. Poor Alice. It was as much as she could do, lying down on one side, to look through into the garden with one eye. But to get through was more hopeless than ever. She began to cry.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. A great girl like you to go on crying in this way. Stop this moment.
But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool all round her, about 4 inches deep and reaching halfway down the hall. After a time, she heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she hastily dried her eyes to see what was coming. It was the White Rabbit returning, splendidly dressed, with a pair of white gloves in one hand and a fan in the other. He came trotting along in a hurry.
Oh, the Duchess! The Duchess! Oh, she'll be savage if I kept her waiting.
If you please, sir.
Ah!
You've dropped your gloves and fan, sir. Oh, how hot it is. Dear, dear, how queer everything is today. And yesterday things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. I'm sure I'm not Ada, for her hair goes in such long ringlets, and mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. And I'm sure I can't be Mabel, for I know all sorts of things, and she, oh, she knows very little. How puzzling it all is. I'll try if I know all the things I used to know. Let me see. 4 times 5 is 12, and 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is... Oh dear, no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. Oh, I must have been changed for Mabel. If I'm Mabel, I'll stay down here. It'd be no use their putting their heads down and saying, "Come up again, dear." I shall only look up and say, "Oh, who am I then? Tell me that first, and then, if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here till I'm somebody else." I do wish they would put their heads down. I am so tired of being all alone here.
As she said this, she looked down at her hands and was surprised to see that she had put on one of the rabbit's little white kid gloves while she was talking.
How can I have done that? I must be growing small again.
She got up and went to the table to measure herself by it, and found that she was now about 2 feet high and was going on shrinking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding. She dropped it hastily, just in time to avoid shrinking away altogether.
That was a narrow escape. But now for the garden.
She ran with all speed back to the little door. But alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before.
Things are worse than ever, for I never was so small as this before, never.
As she said these words, her foot slipped, and in another moment, she was up to her chin in salt water. She was in the pool of tears which she had wept when she was 9 feet high.
I wish I hadn't cried so much. I shall be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears.
Just then, she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. It was a mouse that had slipped in.
Would it be of any use to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think very likely it can talk. At any rate, there's no harm in trying. Mr. Mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I'm very tired of swimming about here.
The mouse looked at her rather inquisitively and seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes.
Let us get to the shore. Then I'll tell you my history.
It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There were a duck and a dodo and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to the shore. They were indeed an odd-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and all dripping wet, cross, and uncomfortable.
Oh, shall we get dry again?
Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough. Ahem. Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all round, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favoured by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English, who wanted leaders, and had been of late much accustomed to usurpation and conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable...
Found what?
That he found it, of course. You know what it means.
I know what it means well enough. When I find a thing, it's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find?
Found it advisable to go with Edgar Aveling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's conduct at first was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans... How are you getting on now, my dear?
As wet as ever. It doesn't seem to dry me at all.
In that case, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. The best thing to get us dry would be a caucus race.
Well, what is a caucus race?
Why, The best way to explain it is to do it.
First, the dodo marked out a racecourse in a sort of circle.
Although the exact shape doesn't matter.
Huh? Then all the party were placed along the course here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3 and away, but they began running when they liked and left off when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour or so and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out,
The race is over.
But who has won?
Everybody has won and all must have prizes.
But who is to give the prizes?
Why, she, of course.
The dodo pointed to Alice. She had no idea what to do, and in despair she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of almond comforts. Luckily, the salt water had not got into it, and handed them round as prizes.
Mr. Mouse, you promised to tell me your history, you know.
Ah, yes. Mine is a long and sad tale.
Your tale is long, certainly, but why do you call it sad?
Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, Let us both go to law, I'll prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial, we must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do. Said the mouse to the cur, Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said cunning old Fury. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. You are not attending.